Hi, I'm Coach Corey Wayne, and this is my video coaching newsletter. And the topic of today's newsletter is going to be my girlfriend kissed one of my friends when drunk, and I dumped her. So, this particular email, this guy was with his girlfriend for 3.5 years. He's been following my work for about 4 years. And so he said he was busy working for the Juneteenth holiday. And he's like, I can't do anything. I got to work. I got commitments, but hey, why don't you go hang out with my friends or whatever? And so he sends her with his group of friends that he introduced her to. And she had one too many cocktails and apparently started making out with one of his friends. And then this friend called them to say, hey, your girl kissed me. She leaned into me. So there was some conflicting stories there. And so I guess he talked to several other people that were there and saw this because, now your whole peer group sees that your girl is basically cheating on you with one of your guy friends. Even though it's just a kiss, it's like that's how cheating starts. And the fact that your friend kissed her back, he ain't no friend. It's like the dude that I wrote about in 3% Man that at one time was my best friend. He was the best man at my wedding. And then I'm confiding in him about leaving my wife and how distraught I was over it and seeking his counsel. And here I am telling him intimate things that are supposed to be between two close friends because bros before hoes, right? Well, obviously not in that case. And so I remember when I finally told my wife that I didn't want to be married to her, and it was like the hardest fucking thing I've ever had to do in my life. It was the worst I've ever felt. It was horrible. We'd only been married for a year. And she didn't have much of a reaction. I was like, you don't even seem surprised. She's like, well, so-and-so told me everything. I was like, that motherfucker. And so, I don't know, it's probably 6-8 months later, maybe it was a year later. I can't remember. But we were having lunch one time, going over some stuff with her divorce, because we had a pretty amicable divorce. And then she proceeds to tell me that they were hanging out shortly after that. And this is after I had moved out, and he had taken her to dinner or whatever, and they were hanging out. And he's like, so, you want to fuck or what? And she turned him down, but the fact that he fucking did this is like, dude, you were my best man in the wedding. I was confiding in you. And so I looked at the whole situation and was like, he's taking stuff that I thought he's my friend, my best friend, and I'm sharing this about my wife because I needed his counsel. I'm torn up over it. And is he being there for me as a friend? No, that cocksucker's thinking, how can I use this to bang Corey's wife? Because he's not going to be with her anymore. He didn't come to me and say, hey, would you mind if your ex and I went out on a date, or if I invited her out on a date? None of that happened. It was just, how can I use this to my advantage and fuck his ex-wife to be? That's how he thought. So I was extremely disappointed to find out. And then there was a series of events I wrote about in Mastering Yourself. This was the same guy that wrecked my Lotus the second day after I had it. And it's like when you have enough things like that happen, you go, yeah, my parents were right. They told me when I was 18, 19, it was like, he's not a good person. You shouldn't hang out with him. I was like, man, we have a lot of fun. We have so many friends in common. He's funny as fuck. Girls love him. There's always girls around. I was like, we have a good time. But he was a shitbird. He was just not a good person. Bros before hoes is like, he was, every man for himself was his fucking attitude. And even all these years later, he's still trying to get back into my good graces. And it's like, come on. So this is kind of when you go through difficult times like this guy is here. I mean, 3.5 years with this girl, and one of his friends kisses her, and he finds out, well, I guess my dad hoe ain't loyal. We got to throw her ass back to the streets. So he, I don't want to spoil a surprise, but I'll go through the email now. But if you have a family-oriented girl, she's just not going to put herself in position to do this. And quite frankly, as a guy, I don't know if there were other girls there or not, or if it's just a bunch of dudes. I wouldn't be sending my girlfriend, my wife, to hang out with just nothing but my guy friends that are all single or whatever. That would be kind of silly. That'd be like my girlfriend sending me to hang out with all of her hot single friends. which at least one or two of them are probably going to like me because that's just the way women operate. And then you find out who's really on your team and who's not. And what I found out is my best man was not on my team. He was all about himself. So this guy says, "Hey coach, I wanted to share my recent breakup story with you. I appreciate your work and started following you about 4 years ago when a girl I really liked ghosted me. Once I discovered you, I ordered the book immediately and read it about 10 times. After watching your videos, I find it so interesting that so many men had gone through a similar experience. For some background, I never had issues with getting girls. I only had an issue with staying with the girls I really liked by becoming a beta male, texting too often, being too soft, etc." Yeah, it's a pretty common experience. That's why guys read my book for the first time. They're like, all these light bulbs are going off. It's like, because every guy's done pretty much everything in the book. And they get mixed explanations or explanations from women that don't make any sense. And they try to make heads or tails. And when the dots get connected for you, it's like the veil of haze gets lifted. At the end of college, when I was thriving in the woman department after reading and following your work, eventually I started dating this gorgeous girl who I met by using your wizardry when I was 22. It's the cheat codes, man. I am 25, now 26 in late July, and we have been dating for about 3.5 years. She wanted to date before then, but I told her no to long distance, and I broke it off. Months later, we rekindled, and she, of course, brought up exclusivity. She had the traits that I look for in a woman: great body, beautiful, cleans the house, and cooks. I feel like a woman who cooks and cleans is hard to find now. Would you agree? Well, everybody's got to learn. My mom, when she married my dad, she didn't know how to cook, but she learned. A good woman will learn. You know, a lot of these red pill guys, it's like they have a vision of the world that didn't really exist. I was around back then. A lot of these guys were not. So, but like I said, my mom didn't know how to cook. She got a Betty Crocker cookbook, and she used that thing religiously. And quite frankly, my mom was a great fucking cook. She was amazing. Cakes, pies, pot roast, just everything she made was good. Especially Thanksgiving. She made the best stuffing I've ever had in my life. I've never had anybody. We used to save the ends of the bread. Like whenever we had a loaf of bread and got to the end, we would save the 2 or 3 pieces on the ends. And she would cut, we put them in the freezer. And then when Thanksgiving would roll around and Christmas, we would cut those up. We'd defrost them, obviously. Cut them up, and that became part of the stuffing. Oh, man, I could taste it now. It was so good. I don't have that recipe. That was one of the things that, we lost as a family when my mother had passed away. I don't know what happened to the cookbook or whatever. But it was a recipe that she came up with. But the point being is that she didn't know how to cook, but she learned, and she taught herself. And so a good woman, if she loves you, will learn to cook. The fact, thinking that everyone... A traditional woman is going to be a church-going girl that only wears summer dresses, and she knows how to cook and clean, and she's perfect. It's like, my mom was not. It's like she learned. She got OJT, on the job training. We moved in together last October, and I can't tell you how many times she had asked me about marriage. Remember, this is the vetting process. So for better part of 2.5, almost 3 years, they lived apart. Or in other words, she had her place, he had his. So he let her move in because, again, this is part of the vetting process. Can I trust her? Will she be loyal and faithful even when I'm not around? Will she exercise good judgment, or will she do ratchet stuff? Recently, while I was working on Juneteenth, she had the day off. She went and partied with some friends that I introduced her to. She was constantly calling and FaceTiming me throughout the day to come to where she was at, and I replied that I couldn't because of work. Man's focused on his mission and purpose, as he should be. He's handling his business. The next day, I get a call from one of my boys, his boys in parentheses, telling me that they kissed and she was leaning into him. Yeah. So at first you're thinking, hey, your girlfriend tried kissing me. Well, it sounds like they both kissed. He says, although she told me that it was the other way around, and this left me in complete shock and embarrassment. Yeah, can you imagine? All these are these close friends of yours that you've introduced her to. She gets a little too drunk and starts making out with one of your friends. Not good. Not good at all. Makes you look like a chump and like a jackass and a poor judge of character. Because it's true, other men are going to judge you by the company of the women that you keep or the women that you date. And if you're in a relationship with a girl and she has a couple of drinks after a 3.5-year relationship and she's living with you and she has no self-control to the point where she makes out with one of your friends, yeah. She belongs to the streets! In a very nice way, I told her to pack her things and leave our apartment. I own the apartment. She did. Of course, I helped her with all of her things. She was bawling and apologizing, saying she was drunk. And after doing further investigation, multiple people told me how fucked up she was. She's a lightweight. Doesn't matter. She's the one that got fucked up. The next day, she calls me how she can't handle our breakup, is randomly breaking down in tears throughout the days, and that she wanted to marry me. She told me because of what happened, she will stay sober, go back to school, go to church every Sunday, and do whatever it takes to fix our relationship. Well, there's nothing to fix. She has a character flaw. She got drunk and cheated on him with one of his friends and embarrassed him. It's like, if you take her back, then you're giving her permission to get away with that. So why wouldn't she do it to you again? And anybody that's in your peer group, if you take a girl back that does this, it's like, you look like a chump. Then they're not going to respect you. And then some of them that, are fringe friends will probably hit on her again. Give her a couple drinks, because then the legs will open right up. The panty spreader shot. Since she keeps reaching out to me, I set up a date. She came over to make dinner. But she started bawling and saying how she wants to get back together. I played it cool, made her laugh, avoided the exclusivity question is what it should say. With an unclear answer, we made dinner and fireworks lit off multiple times that night, if you know what I'm putting down. You beat up her pelvis, I would imagine. You gave her the meat missile, the flesh rocket, the one-eyed bandit. Although now she's reaching out to me nonstop, double texting me, and I don't want to ignore her, so I'm just pretty much going with the flow. I have no intention of being exclusive with her anytime soon. I wouldn't give her another chance, dude. A lot of guys in the red pill community are like, yeah, who's going to hold women accountable? This is how you hold women accountable. You don't give them second chances when they cheat on you, especially when they do it publicly with one of your friends. Like my friend who was trying to fuck my ex-wife-to-be. When I thought I was just confiding in somebody that should have been the most trusted confidant I had. But I didn't listen to my parents. What do they know, right? Oh, you don't know. You don't know them like I do. They knew people better than I did. I was young and inexperienced. But I have not communicated that. What are your thoughts on that? Also, I'm at a point where it's hard to blame her for what happened. Dude, it's her fault. She put herself in that position. She drank too much. And not the friend. He says, I'll punch him in the mouth when I see him for engaging with her. Your friend did that on purpose. That's what happened. It wasn't an accident. He saw an opportunity, and he did it. Maybe when he sobered up, he was like, ooh, shit, I shouldn't have done that. Shouldn't have fucked with Bob's girl, but he did. He embarrassed himself. He embarrassed her. She embarrassed herself. She embarrassed you. And there's really no coming back from that. Because if you take her back, then she got away with it. But if you never take her back, then she's going to have the pain of regret. And maybe the next guy she'll be loyal and faithful to and never do that again because of the fact that she lost you. So that's who's going to hold her accountable is you. Because if you take her back, then you're going to be sleeping anytime she's hanging out with somebody or she's staying late at work or going to happy hour. It's like, oh, I'm going to go to church every week. It's like, you have low character. That going to church ain't gonna fix that. The fact that you don't keep your word and you're not loyal. I mean, she was living with this guy, and it's his apartment. He probably wasn't even charging her rent. And it's like, and for his loyalty and his love and his apartment, she makes out with one of his friends who clearly was hitting on her and trying to make out with her. The only reason he's sorry is because everybody saw it and it looks bad. It shouldn't happen. So I'd be deep sixing your friend as well. I wouldn't hang out with that guy anymore. It's like, he needs to go. You need to tell him, don't ever fucking call me again. This best friend of mine is like, we kept giving him chances, and he ended up going to work for one of my business partners, and he worked for him for about a year, and he kept trying to muscle his way into our business partnership. He felt like he should be the fourth partner, and we should just give him 25% of our companies because he was friends with us. And when he didn't get his way, he left and talked shit about all of us. And then some of the other guys called him to hang out. He just blew everybody off, and we didn't hear from him for years until I ran into him almost probably 10 years later. And it's like, I hear from him every, 6-8 years. It's like, nah, that dude ain't going to change. People don't change who they are. They may become a better version of who they are, but they typically don't change. They become better at hiding it. So your friend that kissed your girl, if you keep him in your peer group, he got away with it. If you boot him out of your peer group and everybody kind of turns their backs on him, he's going to recognize that, bros before hoes, that there's a bro code, there's a man code. You don't do that stuff with your close friends, especially when you send your girlfriend amongst your friends who are supposed to protect her and look out for her, not try to fuck her. It's like, what kind of shit's that? I'm just curious on your overall thoughts on the whole situation. Also, thank you for being a role model in my life. You've helped me tremendously, not only regarding relationships, but also helped me shape my purpose and played a role in who I am today. Well, congratulations on all your success. I'm sorry to hear that your girl turned out to be a disloyal hoe, basically, and that your friend turned out to be a dirtbag, but this is how you vet people. You got to make sure when somebody shows you who they are, they hit on your girl, or your girl hits on them or kisses them or hooks up with them, whatever. It's like, that's it. You got to have people in your inner circle that are loyal to you and wouldn't do shit like this, that literally are bros before hoes. They just wouldn't do something like that. It's nice that he called you, but at the end of the day, he was obviously drinking too, and he created the conditions and he was flirting with her to where he was trying to go somewhere with it. He was trying to get in her pants. That's the only reason that happened. A guy who had integrity would be like, whoa, hey, what are you doing? He would have pushed her away. But he didn't do that. He kissed her back. So it doesn't matter. The alcohol was involved. What's done is done. He should have thought about that before he got drunk and tried to bang your girl. And she should have thought about that before she got drunk and tried to hook up with one of your friends. So I'd throw both of them to the street. I mean, he already's thrown her to the streets. And so, I mean, she's a fuck buddy, friends with benefits, sex playmate, the town bicycle now, if you will. But I would never, ever get back together with her again. And make sure you wear a raincoat so you don't slip them past the goalie, because girls in these situations will sometimes get pregnant on purpose to try to keep you from leaving them. And make sure you flush your condoms. Don't throw them in the garbage. You got to practice operational security, or like Drake, spray some hot sauce in there. Burn it up. Tabasco, baby. The hot peppers. She won't like that hot beef injection for sure. So if you guys haven't already joined our members only content, in the video description below this video, there are links to YouTube, to Spotify, and to my website, understandingrelationships.com. You can go there and click the plans tab. And after a 7-day free trial, if you choose an annual plan, you get a 25% discount. Or you can choose just to go month by month. It's totally your choice. And so what you get with the paid memberships is you get 6 paid members only that are exclusive, just like this, video coaching newsletters like this one, with the email analysis on the website. You also get the weekly 3% Man study group podcast and the Mastering Yourself Study Group podcast, where we literally go page by page in each of the books and discuss everything in depth. And when we get to the end of it, we'll go back and we'll start all over. And we'll keep going through it just like a mastery level class, or like a PhD level class, if you will. So it'll be an ongoing class. You can always tune in. You'll have the extra episodes that are there, plus any of the viewers' questions podcasts we do or special interviews. Those will be exclusive for paying members only to access. So again, the video description below, you can join on YouTube, you can join on Spotify, or you can join on the website, or my personal website, understandingrelationships.com. Just click whatever platform you want to go to and sign up. And if you got a question or a challenge and you'd like to get my help, go to understandingrelationships.com, click the products tab at the top of your screen on any page of my website, and book a coaching session with yours truly. Until next time, I will talk to you soon.